Good morning everybody, welcome to my channel Bobbity Bobbity Books. My name is Ellie and this is going to be a reading vlog. So today is Wednesday and I've got a few days off work, so I thought it'd be fun to film a bit of a reading vlog, and I'm really hoping that by doing this it will actually encourage me to read because I'm in a bit of a slump at the moment. It is midway through March and I've read a grand total of 1 book so far, and I just knew this would happen because I had such a good reading month last month where I read 10 books, which is just crazy for me. So yeah, I just knew that would send me on a bit of a slump and I've lost motivation and I just haven't been reading. So I thought this would hold me accountable. If I film a reading vlog, I'm gonna have to read. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Hopefully it's gonna be fun. And in terms of what I'm gonna read next, I wasn't sure what I was in the mood for. You know when you're in a slump and you're just like, I don't really know what I want to read, and I was looking through my shelves and then this book jumped out at me. So this is Bunny by Awad, and I've been meaning to read this book for ages, and I know that this is a lot of people's favourite ever book. Loads of people rant and rave about this story and they really love it, so surely I will too. So I'm really hoping this will pick me up out of my reading slump. I'm also just incredibly intrigued by this one because people often have quite a hard time explaining this one, and they say that it gets really weird and that it's really creepy, and all I know is that it has kind of culty vibes, and so I'm just intrigued to see for myself what it's all about and if I'm going to enjoy it. And it's not too crazy long, so hopefully this will be a good choice. So I think I might start this later on today and see how we go. And apart from that, I might end up picking up maybe a middle grade. That's always good to pick you up out of a reading slump, or something a little bit shorter. Not sure, we shall see how the mood takes me. But yeah, if you haven't heard of this book before, I'm just going to give you a read off the back because I'm not sure myself, to be honest. So it says on the back, "We call them bunnies because that is what they call each other. Seriously, bunny." Samantha Heather McKee is an outsider in her small, highly selective MFA program at Warren University. In fact, she's utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a clique of unbearably twee rich girls who call each other Bunny. But then the bunnies issue her with an invitation and Samantha finds herself inexplicably drawn to their front door, across the threshold and down into their rabbit hole. Blending sharp satire with fairy tale horror, Bunny is a spellbinding trip of a novel from one of fiction's most original voices. So yeah, I am very intrigued. Okay, so I think I'm gonna head out now because it actually looks like it's a really nice sunny day. So I think what I'm gonna do is take my book and head out and find a little coffee shop in town somewhere, sit and do some reading, and maybe have a little mooch around, maybe look in the used bookstore and have a really lovely morning, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna crack on with reading. So yeah, that's the plan, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll check in with you a little bit later. Hello! So I am back from town and I had such a lovely morning. I went and got some breakfast. I had this really delicious porridge with bananas and nutmeg on. It was so delicious, and I had a really nice cup of coffee, and I spent ages just sitting chilling with my breakfast and reading, and I did actually manage to get quite a decent amount read. So I actually remembered that I downloaded Bunny on my Kindle ages ago before I got my hands on the physical copy. So that's perfect because it was so much easier reading off my Kindle when I'm out and about, and it means that I can keep this copy nice and pristine. But yeah, I read up to page 73 which is 21% of the way through. So I've read a decent chunk of this one and I have been finding it so addictive. The writing is really, really good. It's quite a creative writing style and it really works for this story because our main character Samantha is actually studying poetry, and so she thinks very poetically, and we get quite a lot of her internal monologue, so it's all from her perspective, and she has this really creative way of seeing the world. And the story takes off when our main character Samantha is in this workshop, and it's only her and this clique of girls that attend this workshop, and these girls are all a little bit weird. They all refer to each other as bunnies, and they're always immaculately dressed, they're always really beautiful, they always look perfect, and they always hug each other and show loads of affection towards each other, and it's a little bit sickening but also weirdly fascinating. And this group of girls have never really shown Samantha much interest. If anything, they seem to act quite coldly towards Samantha and kind of don't really like anything that she does. And then one day Samantha gets an invitation from the bunnies to go and spend some time with them, and that is very strange because obviously they haven't ever really shown any interest in her before, and Samantha's not sure whether or not to go because it's all a little bit weird, but she ends up going because curiosity takes over, I suppose, and she's just fascinated to see what it would be like to hang out with these girls. And she ends up going round to one of the bunnies' houses where they meet every month, I think it is, and it's a very strange encounter. Basically, all of these girls have gathered around at this person's house and they each take turn to tell stories, and they're all kind of weird stories and they act very strangely, and they give Samantha this weird drink and then they dare her to go outside and try and catch a bunny. It gets really strange, and you definitely get the idea that there's some kind of weird culty vibes going on here, and you're not ever really sure if they actually care for Samantha and they actually are interested in her and want to be nice to her and want to incorporate them into their group, or if they're, I don't know, if there's a more malevolent reason for them to invite her around. And the whole thing is just really weird but in the best way, and I just can't look away. It's so addictive and I just want to find out more about these weird girls and what's gonna happen. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this one. And then when I was in town, I did do a little bit of book shopping and I did pick up a new book, so I thought I'd show you. So I got Unwell Women, written by Eleanor Cleghorn. So this is actually a non-fiction, and I was immediately drawn in by the gorgeous cover here, but also on the topic. So this is a book that's all about sexism within medicine and healthcare. So it says on the back, medicine carries the burden of its own troubling history. Over centuries, women's bodies have become demonized and demanned until we feared them, felt ashamed of them, were humiliated by them. But as doctors, researchers, campaigners, and most of all, as patients, women have continuously challenged medical orthodoxy. Medicine's history has always been and is still being rewritten by women's resistance, strength, and incredible courage. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really fascinating read, particularly because I work in healthcare, so this kind of topic really interests me. And then while we're here, we might as well do a little haul, because when I came back from town I had some posts and I'm pretty sure that these are all books, so clearly I have a problem, but there we are. So yeah, let's open these together. So this first one, I can get into it. Oh, I think I know what this is. This is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I've heard fantastic things about this book, and I'm not going to lie, I really enjoy the cover of this one. It's not too long actually, so maybe this is one that would be good to pick up, you know, over the next few days, because I could probably read this one quite quickly. So on the back here, this one says, when Leah finally returns after a deep sea mission that ended in catastrophe, her wife Mary knows that something is wrong. Whatever happened in that vessel stranded on the ocean floor, Leah has carried part of it with her onto dry land and into their home. As Mary searches for answers to her wife's altered state, she must face the possibility that the woman she loves is slipping from her grasp. And it says on here, beware, this is unsettling, saltwater soaked story and it seeps deeper than you think. It says that it's deeply romantic and fabulously strange, a hypnotic and affecting love story. It sounds so interesting. So yeah, I might pick this one up soon actually. And then I think these two might be graphic novels. So let's have a little look. So satisfying. This one, yes, this is actually perfect as well. So this is The Girl from the Other Side Volume 2. So I recently read the first manga in this series. I will link the video below where I read this one. But this is such a cute manga about this world that's split into two halves. You have the inside and the outside, and the inside is where the humans live in peace and harmony, and the outside is where there are these monsters that have been cursed, and that's where they live. And we follow a human girl who somehow ends up on the outside and ends up befriending one of these cursed monsters, and we follow the two of them and their relationship, and it's incredibly sweet and wholesome. So again, I might pick this one up soon because this will be perfect to get me out of a reading slump. And I think this one might be the third volume in this manga series. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the third volume. Yes. Ooh, it's so pretty. I love the cover of this one and the purpley colours. It's so cool. So yeah, I'm really excited to read these. So yeah, anyway, I am gonna go and get some lunch, and then I've got some errands to do. I need to do some tidying and cleaning and things, and then I'm gonna settle down and do some more reading, and I'll catch up with you later. Hi everyone, so it is now the next day and I wanted to just hop on here and give you a bit of an update. I have already been up and out this morning. I actually went and got a new piercing, which is very exciting. So I got my third lobe piercing on my ear, and I'm just so pleased with how it turned out because I think it looks really cute. So yeah, I went out and did that this morning. I was a little bit nervous, but it was absolutely fine. It was over really quickly and the lady was so lovely. So yeah, I'm just really pleased about that. And yeah, in terms of my reading, last night I did actually do quite a lot of reading, and I'm now up to page 149 of Bunny, which is up to part 2. I'm just approaching the halfway mark and I am still really enjoying this book. It gets weird though. I feel like as soon as we get to the 100-page mark, the author dials up the craziness from 50 to 100, in the space of a few pages. It gets pretty strange and also pretty dark and gruesome. So yeah, it's a strange one because am I enjoying it? I think so. I mean, I'm just morbidly fascinated with this story and I can't look away. I'm really compelled to keep reading this story even though it's bizarre and strange and not like anything that I've read before. I heard people talking about this book and they say that it's weird, but I was kind of expecting it to be a culty weirdness with these girls that do dark rituals, you know, to perhaps help them with their academic success, that sort of thing, and it's not really. It's more like a kind of drug trip. It seems like these bunnies meet up every now and then and they have these weird joint experiences, and they use those experiences as inspiration for their writing, because they're all writers, they're all in college or uni learning to write. And yeah, they're using these like weird methods to get creative, I suppose, and it's dark and weirdly sexual and also just very bizarre, and yeah, it's strange but I can't look away. So yeah, I'm excited to see where things go from here, because honestly I couldn't tell you what's going to happen in this book. I have absolutely no idea, but I'm here for the journey. And then I also read volume 2 and volume 3 of The Girl from the Other Side, which is this really cute manga series that I've started. And I read these both really quickly last night. They were quite a nice change from Bunny, and I do really enjoy this story. It's really sweet. I just love the trope, or the idea of there being like a monster who's actually kind and is looking after this human girl, even though, you know, people think that he's evil. It's just really sweet. I will say that I probably didn't enjoy volume 2 and 3 as much as the first book, just because the first one was such a wholesome instruction and such a wholesome story, and I feel like it's getting a little bit more serious now with these 2 volumes, but I still very much enjoyed it. The only thing that I will say is that the artwork in here hasn't printed very well, and I think it's just these paperback copies, because I've seen some images of the artwork in the deluxe edition and it looks much better. So just be warned of that, because the images are really dark and I feel like sometimes it's hard to see what's going on in the images, and I think it's just because of the way it's been printed basically on these paperback copies. So just be warned of that. But yeah, I had a nice time reading these, and I'm pleased because it's ticked off 2 more books. So I'm feeling successful, which is great. Anyway, I'm gonna head off now. I think I'm actually going to film a video for my channel. I think I'm probably gonna do a book haul, because I seem to have somehow collected quite a few books this year, which is a bit of a problem, but hey, it's okay. I enjoy it. So yeah, I'm gonna do a haul, and then I am going to chill and do some reading, and my goal is to finish Bunny today. Whether or not I can do it, we shall see, but that's my goal. Anyway, I will speak to you a little bit later on. Hello, so it's a little bit later and I filmed my haul video and I've edited it and scheduled it to go up, which is good, and I've just settled down to do a little bit more reading, and I've read the next couple of chapters. So I'm up to chapter 17, which is 45% of the way through, and it's really interesting because I'm now in part 2 and the tone of part 2 is very different to part 1. So we really hear the voice of our main character, the protagonist, shift, and it's like she's been almost brainwashed by the bunnies. So she's now no longer referring to herself as an I, she's saying we for everything, which is so creepy, and it's almost like her thoughts aren't her own anymore, and it's just really creepy. And I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I've no idea what's going to happen next, but I just wanted to mention that. I also quite like the fact that because all of the girls in this clique call each other Bunny, sometimes it's difficult to know who's speaking, because they'll say, oh, Bunny said blah blah blah, and it's like, which one is that? And sometimes you might think that it's one of the girls speaking, when actually you read it a little bit more and then you're like, oh, actually maybe that's one of the other bunnies saying it. So it's quite a like mind play reading this book, but yeah, it's like nothing that I've read before, and I'm really interested to keep reading. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to chill here with my Kindle and my cup of tea and read a little bit more and catch up with you later. Hey everyone, so it's a little bit later on and I've been doing some reading. I'm now up to chapter 26 of Bunny, which I did actually find in my physical copy, and I don't know if you can see that, but I am about there. So I've only got a little chunk left, but I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break from this book because it's kind of hurting my head. I feel like there is a lot to unpick with this book, and I can definitely see this being a story that I need to revisit several times because I feel like there's a lot of conversations in here and a lot of nuances that might be going over my head. There have been lots of interesting discussions in this story, and I feel like it's one of those books where different people might take different things away from it, but what I personally am picking up within this book is themes of how constraining the education system can be if you are studying something that is artistic, like creative writing, and how there is this pressure sometimes to conform to what you think people want rather than to what is actually meaningful to you, and how sometimes you don't want to share actually what you feel, and your artwork might not necessarily, you might not want to share that with other people. There's also quite a lot of talk about wanting to people please, about writer's block, about this need to feel included, because obviously we've got this clique of girls called the Bunnies, and our main character Samantha is kind of fascinated with them and ends up kind of accidentally becoming one of them, and then she kind of loses her sense of identity, and they all tend to think the same way and dress the same way, and so that's quite an interesting thing to think about. And also there's quite a lot of talk in here about how people might try and use your past traumas or your vulnerabilities for their own purposes, like for inspiration for their artwork, and how that's not always appropriate, and actually, you know, that's not very nice. It's not a very healthy thing. Like, people seem to be quite fascinated about the fact that Samantha has a pretty traumatic past, and I feel like they're often trying to get her to talk about it because it'd be great for their artwork and for their writing, and there's something really dark and sinister about that. So yeah, I feel like this talks about lots of interesting things. I am still confused 90% of the time when I'm reading this because it is very bizarre, and it's very surrealist. The further you get through the book, the more and more crazy and difficult it is to understand what's going on, which I feel like is intentional, but yeah, I don't know how this is going to wrap up. I feel like the ending of this book is going to make it or break it for me. I'll be really interested to see how it concludes, and if it's done in a way that I like, or if there's going to be some twist at the end that I didn't see coming, or if there's something that I don't, sometimes I don't like the way that books end, so I'm just worried that that might happen with this story. But anyway, I feel like I've been going on and not really making much sense, so I'm gonna put this book down now, and I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna have some tea, and I'm gonna watch the new season of Shadow and Bone, which is on Netflix, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll probably catch up with you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. So I have had a very relaxed morning reading in bed, and I've just got up and washed and showered and stuff, and I wanted to just hop on here straight away and talk to you about my thoughts and feelings on this strange book, because I didn't end up finishing this morning. And honestly, this is one of the weirdest things that I've ever read, but I found it so compelling and I couldn't put it down, so I clearly enjoyed it. I definitely don't think this is going to be a book for everybody, because it's one of those stories that's very much open to interpretation. The writing is, would I say flowery? The writing is quite creative, bearing in mind that this is all told from the perspective of Samantha, who is studying creative language. So the way that she describes things is very imaginative, it's quite creative and vivid, and what I quite liked about this story is you're never quite sure what is actually real and what is in Samantha's imagination, or what she is, you know, interpreting, or, you know, you don't know if she's elaborating on events that are happening or if this is actually what is happening. So it's one of those where you're like not quite sure what's going on most of the time, and yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack with this one. I definitely think this is a story that I'm going to revisit quite a lot in the future, and something that I would like to annotate at some point, because it does discuss some really interesting themes, including creativity and constraints on your creativity and imagination and fitting in and how other people react to you, and loneliness and wanting to feel connected to others and being afraid to share parts of yourself, and lots of really interesting things to unpack. I definitely think it's one of those that everybody is going to take away something different after reading it. So yeah, it was a strange one. Is it a new favourite of mine? Probably not, but it's definitely a story that is going to stick with me for a long time and that I'm going to continue to think about for a really long time. So yeah, I will say though, it's not for those who are faint-hearted. It does use quite a lot of really graphic, disturbing imagery, and it is also could be considered a little bit offensive. There's quite a lot of like swearing and not nice words being used in the story as well, so if that's something that you're sensitive to, then you might want to stay clear of this one. But if you're looking for something that's really strange, maybe give it a go and see what you think. So yeah, that was Bunny by Mona Awad. Anyway, I am now going to drink this coffee and decide what I'm going to do with my day, because I was originally going to go out for a walk, but it's really rainy and grey and just a really gross day outside, so I don't think I'm going to go out. So I guess I'm just going to have another chilled day, reading probably. I'm craving something a little bit more straightforward after reading Bunny, maybe a middle grade or something. We shall see. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy this coffee now, and I guess I will speak to you a little bit later on. Hey everyone, so it's Saturday today and I thought I'd better pop on here and have a little chat with you, because I don't think I really filmed much yesterday. I just had a very relaxing day. I spent quite a lot of time with my partner and just hung out, and it was just a nice chilled day. But yeah, this morning I have been up and out to the gym. I went to the shop to do some food shopping, and I've just had lunch because I made myself some soup, which was actually really tasty. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I thought I'd better pop on here and give you an update, because yesterday I started a new book. So I started The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a middle grade fantasy story, and it's one that I've heard loads of really positive reviews for. So I thought this would be the perfect calm down after reading Bunny, because I just wanted something that was going to be quick and easy and light, and that didn't involve too much brain power, because I feel like with Bunny I was kind of trying to dissect every sentence and try and figure out what was going on. So yeah, this has been the perfect little refresh, and I've been enjoying it so far. This story follows this girl. So it's basically set in this town where there is this forest nearby, and the people who live in the town think that there's an evil witch that lives in the forest, and that they have to give up a sacrifice. They have to offer up a baby every year to this witch to keep them safe. What they don't realise is the witch isn't actually evil, and she's just very confused about why these villagers keep leaving her babies in her forest. So the witch actually protects these children. She nurtures them with starlight and takes them on a journey through the forest to the other side, where she delivers them into the welcoming arms of villagers on that side of the forest. And then one day the witch is rescuing a baby, and she accidentally feeds her moonlight instead of starlight, which gives the baby immense magical powers. And because it's very dangerous for a human baby to have magic, she decides that the safest thing to do is to raise her as her own. So she calls herself her grandma, and she raises this girl. But there's a lot of complexities with raising someone who has magic. It comes with a lot of risks, and we follow the story from there really. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really sweet. I really enjoyed the characters. I like the fact that it's not just the witch and the girl. We also have a monster, like a bog monster, who's actually really sweet and likes poems, and he is helping to raise this girl as well. And we also have a little animal companion in the form of a teeny tiny dragon, which is also incredibly sweet. So yeah, I'm enjoying this one and I'm excited to see where it goes. So that's going to be my mission for today. I am currently up to page 140, so I've made quite a dent in this one, and I think I'll fly through it quite quickly because it's just a middle grade. So yeah, hoping to finish that one today, and then yeah, it's Sunday tomorrow, and then I'm back in work on Monday, so we'll see how much I can get read over the next couple of days. But yeah, this has been a really lovely, relaxing couple of days, and I hope you've been enjoying it, and I guess I'll speak to you a little bit later. Hi everyone, so it's been a few days since I've checked in. I just forgot to update you on Sunday, and then I've been getting into the swing of the working week, so I forgot to pop on here. So I thought I'd quickly turn the camera on and give you a bit of a reading update. So I have actually now finished The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, which is this whimsical middle grade story. And I did enjoy this book, but I do think it was a little bit overhyped because I heard so many people saying that this was absolutely fantastic and they really loved it, and so I was hoping that this was going to be a new favourite middle grade, and while I did enjoy it, it didn't quite make that all-time favourites list, if you know what I mean, because there were a few things that I didn't get on with as well in this story. So let's start with the things that I really liked. So I really liked the whimsical writing, I liked the creativity of the story in here, and it was just a very magical and quick read. The things that I didn't like so much were the fact that quite a lot of the time we were told rather than shown things. Particularly we were told about this relationship between Luna and her grandmother, so the two main characters in this story. That is kind of the whole crux of this story really. It's all about their relationship together, as well as Luna and her mother as well, but it's very much about kind of family bonds and love between family members, and I just wish that we'd seen a little bit more of Luna and her grandma the witch and them interacting, and we really saw their connection, because we didn't really see that. We were just told that they really loved each other and they really cared for each other, and if anything, quite a lot of the time we saw that both Luna and her grandma the witch lied a lot to each other. Like, they did lie quite a lot, and that was discussed in this story about how they keep lying to each other, but that was never really resolved in any way. It just kind of was brushed under the carpet, which I thought was a little bit strange. And also, the main focus of this story really is the fact that Luna obviously has magic powers because the witch gave her moonlight instead of starlight. And as she's growing up, this becomes quite a problem because Luna can't control her magic, and she's a young child, and she can't control it, and it becomes a danger to her. And so her grandma, the witch who's raising her, decides to block off her magic against her will. And I just felt like that was a little bit, the fact that it was kind of taking away her free will and blocking off an element of herself without her consent. And also the fact that because she did that, it meant that anytime Luna was confronted with any magic, anytime someone said the word magic, anytime she read something that involved magic, she would have these blanks and she would just like go into a trance for quite a long time, which is really places her in a really vulnerable position. And it also means that a lot of her childhood is just filled with these really hazy memories where she has these lapses in her memory, and I just thought that was a little bit strange. And the only other thing that I wasn't so keen on in here is that there is a character that is continuously referred to as the Mad Woman in this story, and that just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I get that it was used as kind of a derogatory term when this person was imprisoned, and you know, the bad people calling her the Mad Woman was kind of like a part of the story, I suppose, but it continued throughout the whole of the story and for no real purpose, I felt, because it was very obvious who this mad woman was, even though they didn't say what her name was, so I don't really see why they had to keep referring to her like that. It was something that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it was a very whimsical story, and I did enjoy some of the side characters in here. There is a bog monster who's really sweet, who really likes poetry, who I just adored, and I also really enjoyed the sort of animal companion, which was this little tiny dragon who thought that he was a really big dragon even though he's really tiny, which was just so cute. So yeah, I have mixed opinions on this one, but do bear in mind that I'm not the target audience for this book because it is a middle grade, so take what I say with a pinch of salt. So that was that book. And then I also started Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield, and I've read most of this. I'm very near the end now, and I have been really enjoying this book, although it is nothing like what I was expecting it to be. So this says on the blurb, when Leah finally returns after a deep sea mission that ended in catastrophe, her wife Miri knows that something is wrong. Whatever happened in that vessel, stranded on the ocean floor, Leah has carried part of it with her onto dry land and into their home. As Miri searches for answers to her wife's altered state, she must face the possibility that the woman she loves is slipping from her grasp. So yeah, we follow two different perspectives in here. We follow the perspective of Leah, and it's kind of a flashback to the past, and we're following what happened to her when she went on this deep sea mission, and she was supposed to have gone away for, I think it was 3 weeks, and it ended up being 6 months. And then we have the perspective from her wife Miri, and that is the present day timeline, and we're seeing the consequences of what happened to Leah when she went on that deep sea mission and how it has changed her as a person. And it's very eerie, it's very creepy, and it's very slow paced. So this definitely isn't for you if you're looking for like a fast-paced horror story. It's more just very quiet and very subtle. But what I really enjoy about this book is the fact that the characters feel so real, particularly Miri, and the focus is very much on the relationship between her and her wife. And I really like how this book discusses romance and love in a very realistic way. Like, it's not glamorized in any way. The descriptions of Miri when she's talking about Leah and the reasons why she loves Leah feel so relatable, and you know, it's the little things about their relationship, the mundane things, also Leah's flaws, and they just feel like very real people. And for that reason it's very compelling, and you really feel for our main character and the fact that she's having to watch her loved one, her wife, go through something really traumatic, and to see a change in someone that you love. There's definitely a theme of grief in here, and grieving for someone who hasn't gone, and how difficult that is, and how you're not given the luxury of being able to properly grieve because the person is still there even though they've changed. So you're grieving for someone who they used to be, and it's just really sad because you obviously still love that person even though they're not how you remember them. So yeah, there's been lots of poignant moments in this book, and the prose is definitely the star of the show because it's absolutely so beautifully written. And what I also really appreciate about this story is that Miri, the wife, she is actually incredibly neurotic, and I feel like I can relate to that because I myself have issues with health anxiety, and there's been quite a few quotes in here that I've really appreciated. In fact, I underlined one quite recently. So for example, it says, as a hypochondriac, the typical response when I'm panicking is to acknowledge it will end. At some point, I will cease to be convinced that I have a brain tumour or a stomach ulcer or some degenerative condition of the nerves, and so at some point the bad thing will end. When something bad is actually happening, it's easy to underreact because part of you is wired to assume that it isn't real. When you stop underreacting, the horror is unique because it is unfortunately endless. Like, I think that's just such an interesting quote, and definitely something that's made me stop to think. So yeah, while this is an incredibly short story, it's one that I've been really taking my time to get through just because there's been so many moments I just want to sit and chew on and think about. So yeah, this is definitely a really interesting story. I do worry though that this might become overhyped and that people might pick this up thinking that it's something else, because I thought that it was gonna be kind of like a creepy horror story, and Yes, it is creepy. Yes, there are horrific elements, but it's much quieter than that and much more subtle. So yeah, I'm just a little bit worried that it might become overhyped, but for the right person, I think that this is an absolutely stunning and incredibly interesting and unique story. Anyway, I've been talking for ages, so I'm going to end this video here for now. So thank you so much. I really hope that you have enjoyed this reading vlog, and yeah, let me know in the comments what you've been reading this week, what's been your favourite book that you've picked up this month. I'd love to have a chat with you down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I guess I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye!